All systems go. Pulsing lights.
Welcome to Tech Ops Unscripted, the show where we get into the nitty-gritty of IT operations without the marketing fluff. I'm Mike Reynolds.
And I'm Aisha Patel. Before we dive in, a quick disclaimer that while we're based on real IT professionals, Mike and I are fictional hosts created to bring you the best insights on tech operations.
Yeah, we're basically the avatars of every IT ops manager who's ever wanted to scream into the void about provisioning delays.
Speaking of which, today we're tackling a topic that came up as the #1 frustration in our listener survey. Killing the provisioning bottleneck, unifying your IT ops stack.
Oh man, this one hits close to home. Just last month, I was consulting with a financial services firm where they had a new executive starting. Big deal, right? C-suite hire, needs to hit the ground running.
Let me guess, Monday morning chaos.
Total disaster. The laptop was configured but sitting in a warehouse across town. The software licenses were approved but not deployed. And nobody, and I mean nobody, knew who was supposed to set up their email account.
The classic not my department syndrome.
Exactly. By 10 a.m., the CEO was personally calling the help desk. Not a great first impression for anyone involved.
And this is why we're talking about the provisioning bottleneck today. It's not just an IT annoyance. It's a business problem that affects productivity, employee experience, and ultimately, the bottom line.
Let's break down what we mean by the time to provision gap. It's basically the black hole between when someone requests something, a laptop, access to a system, whatever, and when they actually get their hands on it.
And that gap exists because in most organizations, the data needed to fulfill that request lives in multiple, disconnected systems. Your assets might be tracked in one tool. Approvals happen in email or a ticketing system. User details are in HR software or Active Directory.
And let's not forget everyone's favorite asset management tool, the spreadsheet named Asset List Final V12 Do Not Edit XLSX, sitting on someone's desktop.
Which of course has been edited approximately 37 times since that file name was created.
I'm having flashbacks to my days at the fintech company. We once discovered, after a painful audit, that we had 20 perfectly good laptops sitting unused in a storage closet. 2 weeks after we'd approved an emergency purchase of 15 new ones.
Ouch! That's not just inefficient, it's expensive.
$30,000 of expensive. And all because our asset data was scattered across 3 different systems that never talk to each other.
This is why visibility is so crucial. You can't provision what you can't find. So let's talk about what the ideal workflow would look like if we could wave a magic wand and fix all of this.
Ah, the dream scenario. Go ahead, Aisha. Make me believe.
In a perfect world, provisioning flows like this. A new hire request comes in, which automatically triggers the appropriate approvals. The system checks available assets against the role requirements. An in-stock laptop is assigned. Software licenses and access rights are provisioned based on role-based policies. And the user gets a notification that everything's ready for pickup or has been shipped to their location.
And unicorns deliver the laptop on a rainbow slide, right?
I knew you'd be skeptical, Mike, but here's the thing. This isn't fantasy. Organizations are actually doing this today. The key difference is that they've unified their data.
Fair point. And that brings us to the age-old IT debate. All-in-one platforms versus best-of-breed point solutions. Aisha, you're usually in the best-of-breed camp. Have you changed your mind?
I still believe in using the right tool for the job, but I've evolved my thinking on this. The problem isn't having multiple tools. It's having multiple sources of truth. What matters is that your asset data, identity management, service requests, and fulfillment automation can all talk to each other.
That's surprisingly pragmatic of you.
I've learned from experience. At my company, we tried the best-of-breed approach for years. but we spent more time managing integrations than actually improving service delivery.
Been there. You end up with a beautiful Frankenstein's monster of a tech stack that falls apart every time one vendor pushes an API update.
Exactly. So while I still appreciate specialized tools, I've become a convert to the data unity approach. Whether that's through a true all-in-one platform or through really solid integration, doesn't matter as much as having a single source of truth.
All right, folks, it's time for everyone's favorite segment, Tech Therapy, where we role-play a solution to a listener problem. This week's case comes from Sarah in Chicago, who works for a mid-sized marketing agency where provisioning takes over 2 weeks.
2 weeks. That's an eternity in business time.
Sarah writes, "We have 120 employees and onboard about 5 to 10 new people each month. Every single time, it's a scramble. We use Jira for tickets, Excel for asset tracking, and Microsoft 365 for everything else. How can we fix this without buying yet another expensive tool?"
Okay, so Sarah's facing the classic mid-market dilemma. They're too big for manual processes, but not necessarily ready for enterprise-level solutions. Mike, what's your first move here?
I'd start with mapping the current process. Where exactly is that 2-week delay happening? Is it in approvals, asset availability, configuration? You can't fix what you can't measure.
Good point. And while she's mapping that process, I'd recommend doing a quick inventory audit. Just get everything in one place, even if it's still a spreadsheet for now. You'd be amazed how many provisioning delays happen simply because nobody knows what's available.
Absolutely. And here's a quick win. Create standardized configurations by role. Marketing coordinator gets X laptop with Y software. Designer gets a higher spec machine with the Adobe suite. Having these templates ready cuts decision time dramatically.
And then look at your approval workflows. So many delays happen because approvals are sitting in someone's inbox. Can you set up auto approvals for standard requests under a certain dollar amount?
The reality check here, and Sarah, I'm sorry to say this, is that without some kind of asset management system, you're always going to be fighting an uphill battle. But that doesn't mean you need to spend a fortune.
There are plenty of mid-market solutions that won't break the bank. And the ROI is clear if you're onboarding 10 people a month and can save even 3 days of productivity per person. That adds up to 30 working days recovered every month.
Bottom line, Sarah, start with process mapping and standardization. Then look for a right-size tool that can grow with you.
And before we move on, we should talk about measurement. What KPIs should Sarah be tracking to know if her improvements are working?
The big one is time to provision. How long from request to delivery? But I'd also track the number of tickets related to provisioning issues, idle asset time, and SLA breaches by category.
Excellent suggestions. When you measure it, you can improve it.
All right, now let's talk automation, because that's really the end game here. When you've unified your data, you can start automating the repeatable parts of provisioning.
This is where things get exciting. With automation, you can assign assets based on role or location, trigger access setups directly from onboarding forms, sync data with your endpoint management tools, and auto-close tickets when handoffs complete.
Reality check time.
I knew this was coming.
In my experience, you can automate about 60 to 70% of the provisioning process. There will always be exceptions and edge cases that require human intervention. The trick is identifying which parts of the process are truly repeatable and focusing your automation efforts there.
That's fair. And I'd add that automation should grow incrementally. Start with the simplest, highest volume requests and expand from there.
Exactly. Don't try to boil the ocean. Pick one workflow, automate it well, then move to the next.
Looking ahead to 2025 and beyond, IT ops managers aren't just provisioning laptops anymore. They're managing cloud VMs, SaaS licenses, hybrid devices, remote onboarding kits. The landscape is getting more complex, not less.
And more distributed. With remote work here to stay, you might be shipping equipment to someone you'll never meet in person. That creates a whole new set of challenges.
Absolutely. Your provisioning system needs to handle physical and virtual assets equally well, track usage across environments, and offer self-service options for remote teams.
The self-service piece is crucial. In my consulting work, I'm seeing more organizations move toward a model where users can request standard equipment configurations through a portal, which kicks off automated workflows.
And that's where the strategic impact comes in. When provisioning becomes predictable and largely automated, IT operations transforms from a cost center to a business enabler.
That's not just consultant speak. It's real. Faster onboarding means faster productivity. Unified data means smarter purchasing decisions. And automation frees up your team to work on projects that actually move the business forward, instead of just keeping the lights on.
I've seen this transformation firsthand. When we unified our systems at my company, we cut provisioning time from 10 days to less than 2. That improvement alone changed how the business perceived IT, from roadblock to enabler.
So what are the key takeaways for our listeners?
First, recognize that provisioning delays aren't about lazy teams, they're about scattered systems and data. Second, focus on creating a single source of truth for your assets, identities, and requests. Third, standardize and templatize wherever possible. And finally, automate incrementally, starting with the highest volume, most repeatable processes.
And remember, the goal isn't just efficiency for efficiency's sake. It's about creating capacity for your team to do more valuable work and delivering a better experience for your users.
Exactly. When someone can start their first day with everything they need, ready to go, that sets a positive tone for their entire employment experience.
Well, that's all the time we have for today. Join us next week when we tackle another hot topic. Shadow IT, friend or foe?
That's going to be a spicy one. Don't forget to check out our newsletter for more practical tips and join the conversation in our online community.
Until then, I'm Mike Reynolds.
And I'm Aisha Patel.
Keep your systems unified and your provisioning quick.
Thanks for listening to Tech Ops Unscripted.